Hello, my name is Nelson Giacometto, and I'm thrilled to be hosted by Mr. Dan Arriola and the Happy Customer channel right here at Buena Vista Creative's HQ in Doral, Florida. Looking forward to a great conversation about marketing agencies, cannabis, spirits, Miami, what have you. Let's see where this conversation goes.
All right, Nelson, welcome to the show, brother. Good to have you on, man.
I appreciate it.
All right, to kick us off, Nelson, been really excited to talk to you, man. So first of all, Buena Vista Creative is the producer of this podcast. A lot of people don't know that, but
yes.
But it's good to have you on, Nelson. Your background, and it's why we're excited to have you here. I mean, work with leading brands like Moet and Russian Standard. You've worked in fun industries like like the spirits and cannabis. You're also the most traveled person I know as far as where you've lived and been, and you got great hair. So this is going to be a fun episode, man.
Jeez, thank you so much, Dan. That's one hell of an intro.
I figured we're going to have fun today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me, so, listen, there's no easy business. Running an agency is challenging. Lots of moving pieces are going on now, whether it's Google and YouTube's search and always tweaking with search, to AI. What are you guys doing with your digital agency to keep your clients ahead of the curve and making sure that they're not getting caught, sort of with their pants down and moving ahead?
Oh, well, there's quite a bit. And as you mentioned, there is so much, call it digital pollution. It seems like everybody's talking at once. And so it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to feel like you're behind the power curve, or the distance between you and your, call it, natural competitor is widening. When the truth is, it still comes down to the fundamentals. Understanding your DNA, your ethos, what's truly important to you, where do you stand in, I guess, the footprint of your business and industry. Then you find the tools that match what your needs are effectively. I think that there's a little bit of shiny toy syndrome.
Yeah.
There's so much out there and you want to try it all. And effectively what ends up happening is that you're not doing any of those elements properly. Right. So as far as staying ahead of the curve and especially doing right by our clients, getting a great understanding of who they are, what matters most to them, and utilizing their brand tonality and their brand voice to stay true on the same path. We then can fine tune and synthesize, okay, here are the AI data-driven tools that we could use to express a jump or a leap in growth in terms of engagement, or, let's get down to the basics. What is this website traffic looking like? How do we enhance this? You want to really perfect the basics. I always say something to the effect of, if you're starting at Starbucks, and it's day one, you don't tell anybody, okay, everybody step aside. I'm going to revolutionize a cappuccino. Yeah. It's like, no, just do the job that you're hired to do. So we start with the basics. We want to truly get under the hood, understand your business, understand who your natural competitors are, and then utilizing all these wonderful tools that do exist, you start to kind of build that momentum up. Yeah. And so it is a little bit of a symphony, just like an orchestra, and there are layers and rows that when applied and applied correctly, you can gain really wonderful results. The challenge is don't get too overwhelmed with all the tools that exist, viral videos and producing great content, all those things. You could easily go down a bad rabbit hole. Yeah. Just focusing on all those things. So it's just starting, having a really great, simple game plan and building upon that and being realistic, that's going to produce longevity.
When you're hiring, listen, I've made mistakes of hiring, different agencies and sort of making sense of all the noise. 2 or 3 biggest mistakes you see people make when they hire an agency?
Well, when you hire an agency, the idea theoretically is that, okay, I could set this like an easy bake oven and forget it, and you can't.
Right.
The agency is you're either going to find an agency that's like Ron Burgundy, that'll just read whatever's on the teleprompter, or you're going to find someone that really wants to kind of be an extension of your organization and partner with you and say, okay, well, how do we gain, the traction that you're looking for and actually work together with you? So my caution would be, to have somebody that's equally invested in the success of your business, and you quickly learn that by how they ask questions, how they approach their methodology in terms of the onboarding process, because I think the biggest mistake is that there's a limited onboarding process. And if you think of it from a hospitality perspective, there's 3 different types of, like, call it food sequences. You have a food runner, right? They do the job. They bring the food, they're gone, right? So effectively, in that transactional method, they did what they were supposed to do. You have a server that comes and actually services the table, and they take care of your needs. And if you have any questions, there's a little bit of banter back and forth, and that's accomplished one thing. But what's the difference between somebody actually coming back to that restaurant? It's that person going above and beyond. It's that personalized service that is also based on individual pride, but also pride for the organization that they work in. And so when you have that kind of mindset, or you find an agency that really looks and strives to have elasticity and connectivity with the brand, then you have kind of a winning proposition. And that starts with the onboarding process. Yeah. If there aren't a lot of personal questions, if there isn't a lot of explorative conversation where somebody's trying to detach you from the business. So my first thing would be, if Dan's business, I got to separate you from the business. Yeah. Is there, does your business have its own personality, et cetera? But if I'm not asking you those questions and I'm just diving into services and plus, then chances are, I'm treating you like another transaction. Yeah. And so you really want to be able to, and that usually comes through the discovery process and the RFP. You want to find that kind of natural fit where somebody's like, they're taking a vested interest in my business, Yeah,
it's funny, man, because you have the company, and then you have we're all kind of individual brands, right? And then now we can, through the use of digital, share that brand with everybody. Right. You and I were talking earlier, which is like LinkedIn. So I'm on every platform you can think of, but the one that I'm active on is LinkedIn. I can't make sense of it. Okay, so I'm consistently posting, and stuff that I'll put time and effort in will get 2 impressions. Yep. And then some goofy thing that I post, and usually pictures, I definitely, real pictures help, will get thousands of impressions, and then I'll pick up another 100 followers, and I'm like, help me make sense of specifically LinkedIn, because I still think it's either super corporate and stale, or a bit of the Wild West still. I don't think people, I think a couple guys do it really well, but a lot of people are just noise, and just I'll throw up a quote that I really like. Exactly. I don't know, man. I'm still trying to make sense of it.
It's funny you said that, because we had a guest earlier, a little while ago, a dear friend of mine, Shek and Bengay. Shout out Duce Cognac and my dear friend down here. And he said the same thing about fashion. He's like, sometimes I'll just throw something on. Yeah. And he's like, I didn't really think of anything, and I get the most compliments that day. Right. People are like, wow, I feel like that's the same way with these social posts. Yeah. You put all this effort and thought, you're like, this is a cute picture. I'm going to get a lot of likes. Yeah. Nothing. You post a picture of you holding a dog, or
people love dogs.
Cake, and it skyrockets, it spikes. So I think, when it comes to LinkedIn, I don't know. I find it interesting. It's still a model that I'm beginning to try to understand even further. Yeah. Because its evolutionary process is not where it was before.
No, not at all.
Now it's amalgamation of a little bit of IG, a little bit of TikTok. Yeah. It's a little bit kind of a social flex, and people posting what's actually on their mind. And then there's critical information. It's a little bit of everything. And I think it has a lot to do with maybe what's going on in the market. If people are mentally exhausted, me finding out what your take is on bad passengers on an airline or at an airport.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that took off. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm interested in that. So I dig that. So I think that plays into it. I don't know if there's a rhyme or reason. Yeah. There's so much data out there, and you could synthesize it and get it down to a point where you begin to understand. But I think that's the mystery and the beauty behind it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Me taking a picture with a puppy will get thousands of likes and stuff. It's crazy. So let's take a step back in your career. You were in the beverage space and cannabis, 2 very, very fun spaces. I'm sure that we could do a whole other podcast on funny stories.
Absolutely.
Compare and contrast the differences between the 2 industries and marketing. Obviously, one goes without saying, a lot more mature than the other. But what are the similarities, and then where are the sort of the big differences, you think?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's funny. There's a saying, it's have you ever had fun before? But yeah, well, this industry is partially responsible, right? So it's in general, they're both massively engaging and fun industries. There's no doubt. They both have existed for the longest of time. One of them is new post-prohibition enterprise, aka cannabis. So obviously cannabis has been around forever, but it's now sort of in some way, shape, or form regulated and permitted in certain states. Whereas beverage alcohol has been around for almost 100 years since prohibition, right? Like in circulation. And so with beverage alcohol, you have the experience, you have the infrastructure that's set up. There is a terminology called the three-tier system, which keeps sort of, call it church and state separate. And that really truly organizes the way that brands come route to market. So you can't be the same importer as you are the seller and the distributor, et cetera, et cetera. So it creates these channels. And, it's just practice over and over and over again. I could say that beverage alcohol is so different than CPG in other markets. I mean, and that I think that's where initially a lot of the personnel or executive level leadership came from for cannabis. And they failed to recognize like one thing. And again, this is my opinion, and I'm not saying anything bad about any other brand, but if you get somebody from CPG, this wonderful experience, like let's say, Colgate or CVS or Walgreens, nobody's taking pictures with their with their Pepsi can or like Coca-Cola, their Colgate, toothpaste. But they're doing that with their alcohol. They're doing that, so you have to understand a little bit of like lifestyle and be mentally congruent with what's actually going on in the times. And I think that with cannabis, it was such a green rush, not a gold rush, but a green rush. And a lot of people made money initially. It flooded the market fast. And with you match that with inexperience, you match that, or you double down on that with these highly regulated, laws that exist and like all these rules and regulations from the government. It makes it really hard to not only turn a profit, but like to stand out, because as we talked about before, there's no clear contender. There's no Xerox.
There's no Xerox.
Kleenex.
Yeah, there's no leading brand. I don't get it. It seems that, look, the stocks have all tanked. A lot of guys have gone out of business. A lot of guys have lost money. I'm just trying to think, has it hit that low and then somebody springs forward and figures this thing out? First of all, they got to clean up some of the regulation.
Right.
But it's interesting. Who's going to make the money? Is it the retailer? Is it the grower? Is it whoever else? It just seems a bit fragmented and confused right now.
It's hard to manage all the different aspects that make the business run. Yeah. As far as like distribution and actual like shipping and logistics and growing and agriculture, fintech, it's really hard. I know that in the back end and lurking around certain bushes and corners, you got the likes of like the Amazons and the Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits that are ready, and they have the infrastructure and they understand economy of scale. It's hard as an individual, and some of these MSOs, these multi-state operators, they do a good job. Some of them have been doing very, very well. But it's still a lot, and like I was telling you before, it's like the scene in Goodfellas, it's like the best scene. And Ray Liotta's just walking through the back entrance, and he's going down the stairs, and like it's just tipping out almost everybody down the line. And in cannabis, unfortunately, those are all the different regulators and all the things and all the laws that you got to pay close attention to. And it's a lot.
Yeah, there's no margin left over. Yeah,
there isn't. And then ultimately, sometimes the product doesn't work that great, or it's great, but then it's not in stock, the next time you go around. So it just, from a UX perspective, it hurts. It sucks. And I do think it's like a little confusing, because if you're looking at like one strain and everybody has the same strain,
I can't make sense of any of it. Yeah, I'm like, oh, whatever, I give up.
Like, okay.
Hospitality. A lot of places are closing. Labor has gone out of control in certain markets. I know Miami's a tough spot. How do you stay open, man? You were in the space for so long. What makes the difference?
Yeah, it's a shame, and it really sucks that some of these spaces have closed down. We credit the beauty of the city and how it's actually expanded and evolved due to all these new places that have opened up. Sometimes too many open at the same time. In many cases, what were the priorities? If it was solely about money, you're not going to make it in hospitality.
Right.
Because it has to be about hospitality.
Yeah.
And there's such a difference, that's why places like Dan Tana's in LA or Joe Stone Crab, these historical institutions have been around for a long time, or even Prime and 12, like all these great restaurants, at the core, it's always about delivering the right service, about remembering your guest names.
Consistency.
That's what it is, and you can go into these beautiful places that are just aesthetically, over the top and gorgeous with wonderful attention to detail. But just like in marketing and a marketing agency, if you ignore the actual customer journey and you're solely focused only on your process and your steps or simply profit, it ends up catching up to you. It really does.
Best spots to go in Miami now.
Woof. I'm still like a big old school kind of person, so I love getting lobster rolls at Joe's Takeaway.
Okay. Yeah.
And they've got one of the greatest chocolate chip cookies ever. Yeah. I usually get 2. One's done by the time I get to my car.
There you go.
And then the other one, maybe it'll make it home. But I love Joe's. I love like the takeaway part. There's a lot of beautiful little spots that have opened up from a cocktail perspective. Always showing love to Medium Cool. I just think they do such great work there in keeping it, medium and interesting from the door experience all the way down to the bar. That's one of those venues that just understands the steps of service and hospitality, as well as Bebe, just bringing in this sort of Turkish Mediterranean vibe that's like indoor, outdoor in a unique space like Sunset Harbor, which, we've seen so many things come and go.
Yeah, man.
Which is great. I'm still a fan of the totally whimsical Willy Wonka that is the Faena Hotel. Every once in a while, if I feel like, imbibing on cheetah print pillows,
you'll go there.
I'll go there. I'll go check it out. But then there's also, now that I live in, on the edge of Brickell, like closer to the Rickenbacker in Key Biscayne, I'm starting to discover all these cool things down on Coral Way and all these like really random restaurants.
Great spots.
Bright Side that I just went to this bar recently. Great spot to watch like soccer and things like that. So there's always something. I'm a big fan of taking care of the neighborhood and going local, checking out new spots. There's a ton all over in Wynwood and all those places, but stepping out of the main pockets and finding the ones that service the neighborhood, I think is a big joy, and I keep finding some. So.
We grew up in the same era in going out in Miami. I'm sure we have many war stories to share. Yeah. You can go back in time. I give you the DeLorean time machine. You can bring back one bar, club, restaurant, whatever. What would you bring back?
Oh my God.
I'll even maybe let you bring 2.
2?
Yeah, you can bring 2.
Oh my God. Let's see. I think Liquid was one of the best insane places I've ever seen.
And a true original.
I mean...
Yeah, first time I went in there, I was like, what the hell's this?
My head just exploded.
Yeah, and I'm like 19.
yeah, exactly.
Like way too young.
Exactly. They're like, just stick him in the corner. And somehow, I talked my way in.
Yeah.
I think I wore a turtleneck just to look older. But yeah, I think Liquid was one of the wildest places because there was in the middle of nowhere, somebody's passing out baked cookies. There's people doing acrobatics. There's a Dolce Gabbana.
It's the first place I ever saw bottle service.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? You can buy a bottle. What?
Yeah.
The concept that blew my mind.
Insane. Yeah. I still know the VIP hostess that ran the VIP, Lisa Mione, and the head security, Hugo, which I love you guys both. I hope you guys, if you end up seeing this, but I still remember them.
Isn't that funny?
Because I was so blown away, but I was so lucky that I actually I saved it. You know what I mean? It didn't expire.
And the door guy in that era, well, probably today too, had so much power.
That was
you weren't getting in, man.
Yeah, you weren't getting in. But it was about locals, and it was
locals. You had girls with you. Forget it. A group of 7 guys, you ain't getting in.
Nope. Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Sorry,
pack your bags. Go to Fort Lauderdale.
That was a different time. But it's true. It was about personality. It was about what you brought, and it didn't have anything to do with money either. It was just how you kind of fit as a puzzle piece in that entire ecosystem. And I remember at 2 a.m. that's when they opened the hip hop room.
Yeah,
so
it was
there
great.
Always something there. I think that spot was amazing. As far as restaurants though, I would say I was a huge fan of Nemo back in the day for the brunch. Just the brunch.
Yeah, I know the brunch.
You know, like the jazz brunch. You know, it had that like sort of New York tile on the floor. It just felt like really cool with a big tree in the center. Little places like that. I can go on and on. But
on and on. So look, Miami's a curator of cool. Basel, Food and Wine Fest. The list goes on and on. Where does Miami creative world go from here? Because we've got Wynwood, we've got all this cool stuff. Like, where does the creative space go in the next couple of years here in Miami?
My goodness, that I don't know, but I will say that Miami is kind of like it's always served as like almost like a university course. Mm-hmm. We were fortunate because hospitality is so prevalent. We worked at all these different, areas. I say we, like people that like I kind of grew up with in this area since '98 when I came to school here. And they've all kind of branched out, and now they're opening up their own businesses. And yes, and we're getting to that point. I think where it's going is just, I think the sky's the limit. I feel more corporations are starting to peak their attention down here and bring HQs in this area, which further develops. You have all these amazing, spaces in Wynwood and all this art and creativity, but it's elevated in terms of like the quality of the stuff that we're doing in the city, from our museums, before it was like white leather couches, lasers and neon, and then it got like more sophisticated. The same with the art scene. The art scene wasn't necessarily that great here. You can't rival, the studios and museums in New York or in LA and things, but it's starting to elevate, and that's also increasing. That tide is rising. And I feel like other people from so many different genres are beginning to rise. I'll occasionally look online of like high quality agencies in the area, and I'll see their portfolios, and they're servicing massive clients. So the talent here, it's starting to continue to develop. The city is taken seriously, obviously. It's not that it hasn't, but it's starting to make a turn. Very similar to like Las Vegas. It was always like Sin City, this and that, but now you got the Sphere, now you got the Golden Knights, and now
it's evolving.
It's evolving. It's not just hospitality. They're building businesses and communities where people can live to support themselves, to support those businesses. Yeah. We're getting to that point, and I think it's easy to see, like with all the construction that's happening, in the market.
It's out of control. No, Miami's best days are ahead of it. I mean, and the talent level, when we started this business in the late '90s to today, like I remember, just interviewing people, like it's gotten better. And then like I just think overall the university has gotten so much better, right? Yeah. I didn't know anybody who really went to FAU. Now, like I'm interviewing people that, call it under 30. Man, smart, talented kids. Yeah. FIU's gotten better. A little north of here, UCF, like all these schools, they're just better candidates. And then these kids are like, where do I want to live? Exactly. And they go, I'll live in Miami. Right. And I think with remote work and so on, we're getting that talent migrate down here, and then it just takes time, right? We're not a very old city. Like when you really think about it, and we had to take a step back. We had a lot of trouble, definitely in the '80s, and then parts of the '90s, and then we're just sort of little by little evolving. It takes time. Mm-hmm. The corporate area, I think of this community is just going to get better and better with all the investment of all the VCs that are here now, the private equity guys, obviously hedge fund, and it'll just take time because those folks want to stay here, they want to invest here. These aren't, the executives that retire and just buy a big boat and want to chill out. They're like, hey man, I'm 40 years old, got a lot more runway, and I want this city to kick butt. And I think that those leaders, if we do it right, this will be a very important city over the next 50 years. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there's just so much runway. And case in point, if you look at Doral, where we're at right now, this didn't look like this back in the day. It was a swamp. There's a city center, and there's like a little cool action spot in the center. All the suburbs outside, like Miramar, Pembroke Pines, the list goes on. Fort Lauderdale, which is gorgeous now. Yeah. Flagler Village and all these places. They're all elevating, you know? Man. So our metropolitan cities, as they grow, it's also rising the tide of our suburbs, which I think is a clear indication that South Florida in general is somewhat of a healthy ecosystem. I can't let you go today without answering a super important question. Yeah. The proper amount, you're a big cologne guy, as we know, the proper amount of cologne to apply in the morning before you go to work. And then I want your cologne routine. Cologne routine. Well, Mr. Frank Judd, sorry to disappoint you, because I was blown away by the number of sprays that
I just
24 sprays a day.
Is it 24?
Yeah, and then he reapplies when he goes to the gym.
And that's not 1 an hour. That's like all at once.
Yeah, that's all at once.
Yeah. No, I think I do 2. Like.
Okay, so you're doing it on the body. You're not doing the spray and walk in.
No, because chances are it's not pointed correctly.
I'm the same way.
But 2, and I use one brand. That's my go-to, which is Yves Saint Laurent La Bonne Nuit, and that's it.
That's it. Do you reapply if you go to the gym?
No, usually I'm in the gym first thing in the morning, so there's no cologne.
Yeah, me too.
You're getting straight.
And what about a Saturday night? You got a big. You're going to Liquid nightclub. What do you do?
Saturday night, I might have to get 4.
There you go. There you go. Nelson, great having you on the show. Where can people find out about you?
Hey, well, thanks so much for having me. First and foremost, Dan, I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Big shout out to our man Frankie and Duiza, who behind the scenes puts all this stuff together.
They produce a great show.
And they produce a great show. You can find us at www. Do people say that anymore?
No, just
we can probably edit that.
Oh no, just check us out on IG.
But check us out on IG at Buena Vista Creative or online, buenavistacreative.com. As we start to launch and begin to introduce new things and further innovate, we'll make sure that we keep you happy and engaged with all the stuff that we're doing. So,
all right, amigo, let's have a drink and
let's
thanks for joining the show.
Andrew, thanks for sending a bottle of El Viaje Raicilla, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
for pretty healthy.
Thanks for sponsoring this episode.
Thank you.